We're moving on from a harbor, where we showed off our skills, to get our feet back on the pavement and into the city, where we'll show off our skills. You know, first the ocean, then the world. Diamond City from WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games on Gameboy Advance, what I can only describe as a world fueled by the hype of video games. A locale that considers a gimmicky and simple video game with a bizarre yet cartoonishly appealing cover as breaking news for being the next big thing. The sheer easiness of the product catches the attention of Wario, a character who at this point has made a name for himself by defying the universally known Mario formula through the Wario Land games, and considers instead of a Wario game, a game made by Wario. You know, instead of being the one to star in a game as a Mario derivative, why not entice the public by making yourself the auteur of video games? Put yourself up in the pedestal as the corporate genius that is granting these games to the public. The game in Japan is literally translated as Made in Wario, made with the Wario seal of approval. You know, if he made this, it's gotta be something. Of course, the concept of selling games that last only 4 seconds is tough to appease on paper. I mean, you can use buzz phrases like more games, short games in seconds, fast games in no time, but it all needs a hook. It needs that cartoonishly appealing cover. Mamma mia! Nintendo R&D 1 understood this when developing the style of the game. Attention was put into differentiating the Pucci, as in petite, the microgame graphics, and the main game graphics. Microgames were made by an all-star team who threw post-it note ideas on the director's board of what would make for simple-to-beat games. The one who programs the game determines the art style, which led to a number of looks in the collection with no cohesion and little connection. But all of that needed a mediator to make sense of it all. It's one thing to be an off-the-rails game. It's another thing to be that game that keeps that insanity under control. WarioWare is that game, and Diamond City is the answer to why you're playing over 200 microgames. This is the game that cultivated my taste for the bizarre, not because it's LOL random, therefore it's good, but because it takes implausible things and impressively mediates the nonsense. Enter Wario's friends around town who are surprisingly not as greedy or pathetic as he is. What a perfect contrast. Wario happens to know a number of cool people. He's the kind of guy who knows a guy. I wish I could know a guy. Fakers. These aren't just some losers you pick up from the street. These are people that make a good first impression with their slick outfits and interesting side hustles. Enough so that Wario legitimately finds them cool enough to have them be featured in his game. Thus, it is the characters that act as mascots that curate a collection of over 200 microgames that entice the player to sample their unique set of games and become entranced in a rhythm of their own personalized scoreboard and jingles. Goodbye. We can observe how microgames never take up full screen space. They're always under a bezel because they aren't the star of the show. Only when you get to a boss stage where they gain some semblance of a full-length game is when it takes dominance over the screen. Otherwise, they're a means to an end. You get them done within an instant and await to be taken back into the hub of the characters, dropped headfirst into the dump tank and coming up to hear a cheerful crowd seeing you bobbing an apple on your mouth. When I said that this is a world fueled by the hype of video games, this is the real heart of it. WarioWare is a game where you aren't just playing weird and easy microgames in a row through a regular ass menu. It's a game starring characters that make the act of playing video games centered around their hustle. For better or for worse, Wario is the experienced platforming character. That's his persona. He's bound by brute force and strange transformations. It's only fitting that his introduction stage starts with him lifting weights, transforming himself into a boombox, and having his games be all about himself getting stuff done. Wario jumps the obstacle, Wario spars the punching bag and nails the landing. Yeah, look at and he's not really a musically inclined person or that hip of a dude, but I think it's a good take on what the characters do to enhance the microgaming experience. It's about the audio-visual packaging broadcasting these microgames that makes it so feverishly fun. A lot of sharp and percussive sound effects, so many bouncy animations that are almost GIF-like. It really emphasizes the tech-savvy and trendy nature of the package, like getting texts on Jimmy T's flip phone while playing his games about sports, an active dancer who predicates games about physical activities while being tied to technology, using state-of-the-art monkey technology and Mona Stage to accomplish strangely satisfying microgames that make an equally strange yet satisfying feat of making police cars slip on banana peels, a custom-made Game Boy by 9V that samples highlights of old-school Nintendo's classic catalog and uses your skill to play out a Nintendo rave. A Nintendo rave!
Hello? Hello? Hello?
When you beat each of Dribble and Spitz's sci-fi microgames and zoom back out into their windshield, they vibe with your victory, getting themselves more miles to drive their taxi on a rainy night and let that catchy pop song on the radio play out a little bit longer. When Cat's sister is in danger and must climb a dojo tower to defeat an evil demon, the player uses the practicality of beating easy games about nature and animals to climb deeper and deeper and finish the enka song, a Japanese genre of music that resembles traditional folklore ballads or American blues, where this one in particular sings about the changing seasons and life itself on a portable Super Nintendo handheld. The more you play, the more they keep on living. That's a pretty profound example, dude. I remember back in elementary school where I got to be the MC for the talent show. Regardless of who or what came up, I made a freaking show out of whatever came next. I yelled my lungs out because I wanted the crowd to be as stoked as I was. I was also like 12 or something, but I feel that that was like the age when I broke out from being an otherwise pretty quiet person. WarioWare taught me the importance of exciting branding and having confidence in your content, even if it isn't as much of a spectacle as it turns out. You make it exciting by not being a discrete video game sprite, but a personalized icon that actively speaks and vibes with the player as they play. The microgames command you before they begin. After boss stages, there are these little intermissions of the characters taking a break and making small talk with you. There are side games and stolen NES games that feature Wario and the gang while you're playing, because they want to be that ongoing presence that encourages you to play video games more. If the microgames are the entertainment, then the characters are the MCs. The Matt Cross says the line. Diamond City and WarioWare Inc. GBA always sees the characters in the prime of their routines, but always under the view of a different hotspot within the city. The computer theming of the stage selection screen is a great touch in mediating the crew and, again, keeping with the tone of a game-obsessed world. Starting with Wario's introduction folder at the bottom and only being able to load up more of these unknown files and discover new people and hotspots once you beat more stages. And starting a character stage gives a view of the map of Diamond City to locate where exactly they are, like a Google map search. Everyone has their own isolated scenario that feels exclusive exclusive to them. Even something like the marathon and boss rush modes you unlock after beating the game, they're legitimate places located in Diamond City, like you're just visiting there. It gives every place and everybody a different specialty. You don't just pick anybody because you want to play video games. Sometimes you want to experience the cool GBA effects and easygoing space backgrounds of Dribble and Spits. Or other times, you want to see some pre-rendered realism through your tiny GBA screen through Dr. Krygor's stage, or in this case emulated on a big screen with a color-bleeding CRT shader. Their given genre is their specialty. Sometimes you can't expect a chef to know rocket science, you know. I think the overarching setting is that of a downtown presence. Pedestrians, roads, and hotspots are abundant, and on the rare occurrence, sometimes those elements can coexist with one another. It's only with characters like Orbulon, Dr. Krygor, and Cat and Anna where we see more of the outskirts of town, the questionable alleyways. What's a dojo doing in the city, dog? The microgames may have nothing to do with the setting or characters of Diamond City, but again, it's the energetic feeling of getting them completed at frantic speeds that drives its residents. Playing microgames doesn't just help the WarioWare crew stay afoot in their schemes, but it also stands as a testing ground for how accustomed to the WarioWare setup you really are. This game is a pseudo boss rush game testing phase in disguise. Wario in his introduction questioning if you think you can beat his games, getting introduced to Jimmy T as he also questions if you think you're cool enough to play his games before welcoming you into the groove. It's only in text scrolls before and after you beat some of their stages where the characters acknowledge the fact that they made these games and are advertising to you just how cool they are and putting out the challenge if you can beat them. Mona makes strange games because she wants to differentiate herself from all the boring games out there. I don't know if she's referring to other Nintendo games or her own colleagues. If it's the latter, then damn. Cat and Anna make games that encourage the beauty of nature and animals. I like how Dribble and Spits admit that they're not fans of science fiction, but they run into it so much on their runs that they just make games about it. But oh, my favorite concept has got to be Orbulon, the host of IQ-based games, and initially doubts that a human like yourself can beat them. Even humors you enough to give you 8 seconds instead of 4 to beat them. When you do beat a stage, he's in complete shock as to how you did it. You know, it felt good to prove that I'm smarter than a bowling pin. I like how a lot of the characters are impressed by you when you beat their stage. They admit defeat or say they've underestimated you and are welcome to play their stages again. And sure, they're not prime-time villains or anti-heroes or even the next Nintendo platforming heroes, but they were personalities that you wouldn't mind hanging out with again. Especially coming from Wario, who only really did this for the money. Even he admits that you're a damn good video game player. Although this is only in his beginning and ending stages, which are his only major appearances and where he really seems to matter. For a game called WarioWare, he's pretty absent in the journey, like a Nintendo brand Giorno Giovanna. I know the GBA is the portable Super Nintendo, the safe haven for 2D side-scrollers, but just having character portraits giving me respect through GBA artwork is just really something. WarioWare is one of those few party games that has a surprising amount of world building and actual character to it all, rather than just having these sprites as pawns that you simply move around. And earning their respect for taking time out to play their stages also makes them group together for a meetup at the ice cream shop that Mona works in. The more stages you beat, the more characters you get to know, the more the hangout grows. A world fueled by the hype of video games. But more importantly, a community of people who use the enjoyment of playing games to say something about themselves. I guess those are the kind of tour videos I want to make.